All right, guys, so the NFL playoffs are finally here. And it's been a long season. It's been a fun season for some. It's been a real letdown for certain teams' fans. But for the people that are still in the playoffs, why not get in on the action at the DraftKings Sportsbook, where all new customers, if you bet $5 or more, you can get $200 in bonus bets instantly as you're watching all the big games that ultimately lead to New Orleans, so you get in on the action at the DraftKings Sportsbook. So once again, go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. All new customers, sign up using my promo code DCTV, bet only $5 or more, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. I mean, come on, it doesn't get no better than the DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours. What's up, guys? Hey, last video, pretty good. I mean, unfortunately, Rogan walked that back on the 30 mil. Dana called him. You know, that's one thing that people don't realize, that when we get things like maybe not as right as we think, dude does give us a call and kind of tells us what's going on so that we can actually be at least given the right information out in the world. But today's video is not even about that. I want to talk about something different. I have been monitoring, and as you guys know, we monitor everything here at DCTV, all the news, the whole Bo Nickal Khamzat Chimaev thing. And the reason, and Luis, please put it in the chat, the article on MMA Junkie about what Bo said so that I can read it verbatim. But the reason that I've been monitoring this very closely is because remember when Bo fought, and I spoke a little bit about, while he was in the octagon, him not being ready for Chimaev. Ultimately, that really did upset Bo. We ended up talking about it a little bit. But I was kind of trying to avoid this, where he would get rushed into something that I didn't think he was necessarily ready for. But in the beginning, when you're young and you start fighting, you're very excited. Bo seemed in 2024, which was last year, to have caught his head a little bit, and he kind of took a step back, talking about, I'm not ready for that now. And he had talked less about Chimaev. Well, now, as the year has turned, Bo Nickal is more talking about Khamzat Chimaev and how he thinks a potential match between those two would play out. Bo said this. He said, I don't think there's really a guy in the world at 86 kilos, 185, that can beat me in wrestling. See, that there, love you, Bo, but be specific. A guy in the world of mixed martial arts that could beat you in wrestling. Obviously, we're not wrestling because, you know, there were guys that beat him in the United States. But he's talking about MMA. And honestly, I agree with Bo. Those guys cannot out-wrestle Bo Nickal. There's not a guy in the UFC at 185 pounds that could make it one round with Bo Nickal in a wrestling match. Get that out there. It is a complete non-event. It's a non-starter. He would literally mop the floor with every one of those guys in a straight wrestling match. Not close. Not competitive. All of our favorites, we love them. But they cannot compete with Bo Nickal in wrestling. Non-event. I don't want your comments. I don't want you to, I'm always like, yo, tell me in the comments. I don't want your comments. It's a wash. The argument's over. Bo Nickal, 10-0, every guy in fighting, in straight wrestling. Y'all remember he ain't wrestling no more and fighting no more? Only guy, those types of guys can compete with him. Anyhow, I think that he's good. He's got skills. But his biggest thing that's going to crush him, especially in a fight against me, dude, you're going to get tired. You're going to go down like this, and I'm going to, like this, go up as the fight goes on. And you're not going to take me down, which is your best attribute. So you're going to have to strike with me. I'm probably going to be able to take you down. Maybe I don't hold you down on the ground forever, but I can hold you down there for a little bit. And the longer the fight goes, the worse it's going to get for you. Now, that is about as strong a statement in regards to Khamzat Chimaev that I've seen Bo Nickal make. So I wonder what happened. What did he do or discover in the gym that he is more strong with his convictions in regards to how he thinks a matchup between those two would play out. Something happened. Something happened. You don't make that big a turn without something happening in the gym that either clicked or you went with someone that you feel is comparative to Khamzat Chimaev and you did well against him. I don't really have that big of an argument or a big of an issue with what Bo said, honestly. But I will say this from experience, and guys, I'm scratching my leg right now. I will say this from experience. In theory, when you're the better wrestler, you expect to be able to control the wrestling. In reality, it's not as clear a line to define as one would think. I was that because I came over as the Olympian, the guy that could out-wrestle anybody, and I could. I would have beat Jon Jones 10-0. I would have beat Alexander Gustafsson 10-0, no problem. Yet, they both took me down. Because at the end of the day, in MMA wrestling, it's not just about shooting double legs, single legs, high crotches, and snap downs. It's also clinch wrestling, clinch positioning, learning to wrestle along the octagon side, defending takedowns against the octagon. I got taken down by Rumble. I got taken down by Jones. I got taken down by Gustafsson. I don't know that those guys could score a takedown on me if we put on wrestling shoes and we stood in the middle of the mat in the wrestling stance. Nobody in the country did for 6 years. But inside of an octagon is different. So in theory, what Bo Nickal is saying is true. But in reality, Khamzat Chimaev, the more experienced guy inside the cage, honestly may hold the wrestling advantage. Just knowing how to wrestle in there. One area that would give me a little bit concerned if you're Team Chimaev is that most of his shots are from distance. Those will not work against Bo Nickal. Shots from the outside, like he did against Robert Whittaker, like he did against Gilbert Burns, where he just kind of level changes and explodes in the guys, that won't work against Bo Nickal. When I got taken down by Jones, when I got taken down by Rumble, it was always against the octagon side from the clinch, level change, put him down. Because in the open, you can defend all day as the wrestler. But my question to you is, what happened? What gave him this new confidence to where he is so assertive in his thoughts? I like it. I like that something is telling Bo Nickal, or someone is telling Bo Nickal, that he needs to start putting these higher level guys on the radar. But there are many guys that he should fight before he fights Khamzat Chimaev. I'm not coming off of my stance that I think he should get more time, because my concern for him is this. If you can't take him down, now what? Chimaev's the better striker. Chimaev is the bigger puncher. Chimaev can, when you put these two in their performances against each other, we haven't seen Bo just put somebody out with one shot. He hurt Val Woodbine, but it was the follow-up shots that put Val down for good. We have seen Chimaev one-punch Gerald Mearshart. But I think that is what, and this is what we need in the UFC. We need a young rivalry. We need two young guys who seem to have the world at their fingertips, nipping at the butt to fight each other. I wonder, though, what Chimaev's thinking in all of this. Because right now, you got the young guy, the lower-ranked guy that's chirping, that's talking. And I didn't see where the conversation started. Bo was on a podcast or something. I don't know if the question was posed to him. I don't know. But I know in that answer, I see a confident guy. But I wonder if Bo has asked himself the questions, what happens if it doesn't go according to plan? Because you guys have to remember, he's still very early in his career. So what happens if I can't hold him down? What happens when he gets back to his feet and he defends a takedown? What happens when I get tired? What happens when I start to get dealt some adversity whenever I haven't been dealt adversity? Or maybe he goes through this whole thing without being dealt adversity. See, that's the crazy thing about Bo Nickal is the potential is it's untapped. We don't know how good this guy is going to be. What we do know, though, is that Khamzat Chimaev has been thought to be a future world champion from the moment we laid eyes on him. His hardest fights have been against Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. Both of those guys have fought for world titles. He fought a world champion in Robert Whittaker, and he submitted him in the first round. We have not seen him struggle. So it's hard to imagine, and Bo didn't struggle in the last fight. Guys, he didn't struggle against Paul Craig. He beat him very convincingly, but he wasn't as dominant as we have come to expect him to be. So in that, people will draw conclusions, but ultimately, it's about matchups. And when you look at the matchup, seems to be a pretty good one between Bo and Khamzat. So for the first time, I'm not telling Bo to stop talking. I'm telling Bo, talk more, but just you better be ready for what you're asking for. Because this dude is a killer. And he's very good. And I know because I was you that I thought I could take them all down. But when I didn't, I had struck long enough to know that I could still hold my own. And that's why I won so many of those fights. I love it, though. Bo Nickal, keep talking, man. Talk your talk. Get the fight that you think you want. But hope that all your training is at a level that can compete with the absolute best in the world. Because once you beat him, if you beat him, there is no going back. It's only going to get harder from that moment on. Guys, thank you guys for supporting me in everything I do. I love you. I appreciate you so much. Until next time, like, subscribe, set those reminders. Tell your friends about DC's YouTube channel. Because I'm getting into all the hottest topics because my ear is always to the street. I put my ear, see my brick street? I put my ear to the street. Till next time, guys. Peace.